Okay, I think we are live. So, welcome everyone in today's session. A very, very warm welcome to all of you in today's session. We are really excited to be conducting this App Stellar today with all of you. The topics that we will be covering in today's session is app campaign fundamentals and the best practices pertaining to setup, app campaign setup and optimization. Quickly wanted to introduce myself and my colleague Vinay. So my name is Aratrika and I have been associated with the ad tech space for last 8 years. And before I take it over, Vinay, quickly handing it over to you for an introduction.
Thank you, Aratrika. Hello, everyone. I work alongside with Aratrika, and I've been associated with digital marketing field for 8 plus years as well, into different parts where, and I was associated with campaign management, optimization, and troubleshooting. I'll be meeting you guys in the rest of the other part of the session where we'll be talking about creative best practices. But I'll hand it over to Aratrika now to take care of the first part of the session. Over to you, Aratrika. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vinay. Now, before moving forward and jumping on to the agenda, I just quickly wanted to mention that if you have any questions during the session, please feel free to type in your comments in the comment section here. If you have any queries, please do add it, and we will definitely get back to your queries. Now, coming to the agenda of today's session, we will first give a quick introduction about app campaigns. We do understand that some of you might already be aware of what are app campaigns, how is it important, but there may be people who are just starting off with their app campaigns journey, and hence we would want to quickly give an introduction. We will also talk about the different type of app campaigns that we have through Google Ads. We will talk about the bidding strategies and measurement, and we will discuss the optimization of creatives and the evaluation of the performance of those creatives. Now, the first question that we would like to answer is why app and app campaigns? Now, we all understand and acknowledge that the entire consumer journey is accelerating at a very high speed and has become more and more complex of, for obvious reasons. The reason is there are so many platforms available right now. There are so many different ways how a consumer can search a product. There is web, there is app. Within web and app, there are multiple ways how they can search for a product or service, and hence the overall consumer journey has become a little more complex. However, for this particular session, let's not look at web customers or app customers. Let's look at everyone as customers and then typically work on a solution that will give any kind of consumer an experience based on their needs. Now, why app campaign is so important is the reason because nowadays everyone, either it's me, you, or any one of us, are spending a lot of time in a mobile. And whenever we are spending time on mobile, it means that we are spending more and more time in an app. Now, based on our analysis, we have seen that almost 90% of the time that we spend on a mobile, we are actually doing something or the other in any of the app. It could be a shopping app, a gaming app, or any other app. But we are actually actively using an app when we are using a mobile. Now, we have also seen that it is better for the consumers because 78% of consumers would rather access a retailer from an app versus a mobile site. Now, this brings us to a very important question that why? What is the difference between using an app versus a mobile site? Why is this experience of using an app better from a mobile site? And the reason is the user experience, the way the user interface is designed. within an app. So at any point of time, when you are going through an app versus a mobile website, your experiences and your journeys will be a lot more different. Usually in app, that journey is more seamless, that experience is more seamless. And hence, 78% of the consumers have expressed satisfaction in using apps versus a mobile site. Now, when it comes to app campaigns and Google Ads, it serves across multiple inventories available within Google Ads. Now, when we talk about app campaigns, you can either come across ads pertaining to apps while discovering anything on Play Store, searching on google.com, engaging with any other app of your choice, surfing the web, or watching anything, a video on YouTube. Now, all these inventories are compatible with app campaigns. Hence, you can leverage the entire power of all these Google inventories, reach the high volume of user base, and expect good performance out of your app campaigns. Now, app campaigns have a way of identifying different kind of signals. Now these signals could either be the user signals, or it could either also be the advertiser data. Now when we talk about the user signals, which is again the Google data, it could be the device targeting, it could be the user location, it could be the type kind of query that the user has searched for. There could be multiple signals that the system is always analyzing. Now, there are also certain advertiser data. When it comes to the advertiser data, the advertiser will be able to understand or identify whether it's a new user or an existing user. What is the time spent within one particular session? Now, the kind of engagement the user has shown. So all these are data related to the advertiser. Now, what happens here is that, and in this era of artificial intelligence, the more data we have, we will be able to make much better decisions. And I think all of us will agree to that. Now, when we combine the Google data along with advertiser data, we get great quality inputs that the system can analyze, and based on that it can make certain optimizations and target certain users. And that what makes the entire Google app campaigns a lucrative option for any advertiser who want to promote their apps. Now, talking about the different types of app campaigns, let's talk a little bit about what are the different types of app campaigns that we have in Google Ads. Now, the first is app campaign for pre registration, which is available for Android only. It is not available for iOS at this moment. Now, this particular campaign type is only for those advertisers who have not yet launched their app into the market. Sorry, who have not yet launched their app into the market and want to do an initial testing, or want to promote that interest or that awareness, or kind of generate an interest in people's mind before the app hits the market. Now, this particular campaign type is for those advertisers. Now, coming to app campaign for installs, it is for those advertisers who have launched their app and their focus is to primarily have more and more installs. And the other kind of campaign type that we have is app campaign for engagement, which is where the app is launched, it is installed, but now the advertiser wants to generate more in-app actions. It could be the first open, it could be having any in-app activity like adding some products into the cart or making a final purchase. Now, all these campaign types will cater to different needs and different stages of the entire app journey. And based on the objective of the advertiser, what the advertiser is actually looking for, the particular advertiser can select the campaign type, whether it's for pre-registration, app campaign for installs, or engagement. Now, as I said, this all these three app campaign types will cater to different stages of the entire app life cycle. Now, when it comes to pre-launch, it is the pre-registration camp. When you want to scale your app and acquire more and more value, when you are looking for growth, that is when you will use app campaign for installs. And when your app has gained a certain amount of popularity, people have installed it, it has met your expectations of installs, you are now moving to a more matured stage that you're focusing on retention, or you're focusing more on building a relationship with your existing users. That's when you focus on app campaign for engagement. Now, we kind of gave you a gist of the different kind of app campaigns, and also what each campaign type will do, which stage each campaign type will cater to, and accordingly we would recommend all advertisers to kind of align your business objectives and then create a campaign type. Now, moving ahead, we want to create a campaign, but we also want to set it up for success. And hence, at the time of creating campaign, we will need to ensure that the other settings are also aligned with the campaign setup and with the business objective. And bidding strategy is one very, very important thing that plays a very crucial factor to the success of your campaigns and to ensure if your campaigns are meeting the objectives or not. Before moving forward, quickly wanted to highlight if there are any questions, please do add it in the comment section and we can definitely get back. Okay, now moving forward, let's talk about the different kind of bidding strategies. Now, again, before going ahead with the bidding strategy, let us take a step back. Now, a Google App campaign is again another powerful campaign type backed by artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms. However, there are certain critical factors that should come from the advertiser's end, which are the only manual levers that will be added by the advertiser. But these are some very, very critical levers because these inputs will actually determine how the system is analyzing the campaign and how the system is understanding your expectation. So this is your medium of communicating with the entire technology. Now, whether it's the event selection, bid, budget, creative, all these inputs have to come from the advertiser's end, and that has to be very carefully thought of, that will be of highest alignment with the particular marketing objective. Now, when we talk about the different kind of bidding strategies, let's take it one by one. Now, for example, I will add 5 scenarios here, and based on that, what would be the ideal bidding strategy for me as an advertiser? Now, if I talk about, say, for example, I am an advertiser who wants to get more and more installs within the daily budget, but I do not really have a very specific target in mind. But my focus is to have more and more installs within my daily budget. Now, in such a scenario, because I don't have a specific target in my mind, but my focus is to have more and more installs, the bidding strategy that I will be using here is maximize conversion. And in this case, the conversion is install. So when I add this as a bidding strategy, it will maximize my install volume within the daily budget without operating within a specific budget. Now, talking about the second scenario, which is I want to have maximum installs, but I want to operate within a specific cost per install, say X dollar, or say, for example, I'm just giving a hypothetical example. Say $5 is my threshold here, and I do not want to exceed $5 for my cost per install. Again, this is just another very random hypothetical example. Now, here, If I want to have more and more installs within a specific budget, within a specific cost per install, to ensure that I am also maintaining a certain profitability, then the bidding strategy here is target cost per install. Now, what will happen here in target cost per install? The system will understand that, okay, I have to optimize the campaign in a way which will give the advertiser maximum installs. But at the same time, I'll have to ensure that my target cost, my cost per install is not exceeding the maximum limit set by the advertiser. Now, the third is install advanced. And again, this is a great bidding strategy for advertisers who want to focus on installs, but they also want some kind of engagement. They want to trigger an in app action. Now, here, what will happen when you're using installs advanced, it will maximize installs, but it will also trigger an in app action. So this is a great bidding strategy for advertisers who want to focus both on installs and in-app action. Now, going forward, the bidding strategy that we will talk about is target cost per action. Now, here it is more for those advertisers who want to focus on engagement and they want to have a specific target assigned to a particular in-app action. And TCPA is the bidding strategy highly recommended for those advertisers. Lastly, we have TROAS, which is for those advertisers who want to ensure that their campaign is performing in a way that is giving them maximum profitability. Now, when advertiser is focused on their profitability, the recommended bidding strategy is target ROAS. Now, one thing, again, we will be discussing this in the next slide as well. One important thing we have to understand here is that the bidding strategy needs to be aligned with the campaign stage. Now, if I am setting a campaign which is completely new and I have just created the campaign has not performed for a certain time, there is not enough data imbibed into the campaign, I cannot directly apply. I mean, rather, I should say it makes no sense to directly apply a TCPA because the system is not even aware of what the right kind of target cost per acquisition should be in this case. Hence, when you're starting off with a campaign, it is better to start off with maximize conversion and then subsequently move ahead. So all the bidding strategy that we are talking about is something that should be applied as and when the campaign is performing and has more and more data. Now, let me quickly explain in detail what I'm trying to say here. Now, for example, if you want to have a target cost per install, now the next important question that I have is, what is the right kind of target that you would want to set? Now, in order to understand the right kind of target, you need to first implement the uh, maximize conversion bidding strategy. Now, more installs you have, the system will be able to understand better what is the right kind of target for you. And same for the advertiser. The more the campaign performs, you have more data. You yourself will also get a better understanding of what the right kind of target should be. And then you can move ahead to a TCPI bidding strategy to assign a target which is not very random, but rather which is backed by more and more data. And you can assign a right kind of target that will be very important to ensure that your campaign is also performing at its full potential, not compromising on the installs, but again operating within the assigned targets. Now, when you want to utilize the TCPA bidding strategy, the recommendation is to use installs advanced, because installs advanced, as I mentioned in the earlier slide as well, it is a bidding strategy that will focus both on installs and also in-app actions. So when you start using installs advanced, what happens is that with the in-app actions, you will get a better understanding of what is the right kind of target cost per action. And then when you assign the right kind of target, for per action, you will get much more better result for in-app events or engagement. Lastly, when we recommend using TROAS bidding strategy is when you have run the TCPA campaign and you have a good understanding of what is the right kind of cost per acquisition for you. When the campaign has run for certain time and you have a more and more data, you will have a better understanding of what should be the right kind of target ROAS for you. So hence, the just to summarize, what we are trying to say here is that all the bidding strategy should be used as and when the campaign has more data to get a better understanding of what is the right kind of targets that you need to assign, and then assign a data that a target that will help the campaign maintain its performance. Okay. Now, talking about app campaign measurement. Again, this is very important, right? When I have created a campaign, I want it to perform. I have certain goals that I want that campaign to fulfill. And it is very important for us to understand that when I'm going ahead and creating a campaign, what are the best practices in terms of measurement? What is the best way how I can measure the effectiveness of that particular app campaign and evaluate the performance of that campaign to understand if it is aligned with my business objective and it is moving in the right direction. Now, talking about app campaigns, we need something called a measurement SDK. Now, SDK is a software development kit, which is like a code which you insert into your app so that it can start tracking conversions. And through that SDK, you can also measure the performance of your campaigns. Now, setting up the right kind of tracking mechanism at the start of your campaign is highly critical. So, whatever best practices that you have in terms of tracking and measurement. So, before measurement, you need to set up actually the tracking. So when you set up the tracking right in the beginning, you can ensure that you're not missing out on any conversion or opportunities, and then you can go ahead and start measuring the performance of your campaign and optimize it for a better performance. Now, talking about the overall app campaign ecosystem, it's a little different from the overall web ecosystem. Now in web, we have something called as cookies. Now through those cookies, a system is able to identify a user, whether it's a new user or an existing user, etc. Now coming to app, it is a little different because it doesn't use cookies, but it uses something called as the device IDs. Now, the device ID is a little different from how a cookie operates. A device ID is usually static and it can be reset by the particular advertiser. Now, when it comes to cookies, you can actually have generate cookies multiple times. But when it comes to device IDs, it is usually static in nature, and hence the overall measurement and tracking is also a little different when we compare the app ecosystem and the web ecosystem. Now there are usually two IDs, that one is for Android, one is for iOS. So usually for 90% or even more, 95% of advertisers have a separate app for Android and a separate one for iOS, and each of it is tracked by two different device IDs. Now, talking about the key players in the app marketing space. So, we have first the ad network and platforms, which is the ad network are those platforms which help you show the ads. These are platforms like Google, Meta, TikTok, Snapchat, etc. Now, there are certain analytics and AAPs, which are the app attribution partners. These analytics and AAPs will actually give you that data, that how it is performing. It will capture the entire conversion data, which you can analyze for better campaign performance. And then there is the operating system and app stores, and we have Android and iOS app stores, and Google Play, and for Apple we have the Apple App Store. Now, again, we spoke about something called as SDK. Now, when we talk about app measurement with Google, let me go from the most simpler one to the ones which are highly effective. Now, the first basic one is Google Play. Now, this is again applicable only for Android. This doesn't require any SDK and it is free. However, there is a limitation attached to Google Play. If you're using Google Play, you can only track installs and not any engagement. So we don't recommend advertiser if the focus is to track both install and engagement. It is not really a very recommended option, even though it is a codeless measurement and there is no SDK required, but the evaluation and the measurement, evaluating the performance of your campaign, will also be limited only to installs. Now, coming to Google Analytics for Firebase, this requires SDK, which is the software development kit. It is also free, and it can track the campaign installs, the actions, and the in app engagements, and the conversion values as well. Now, there are also third party app attribution SDKs, now which is a Just, Airbridge, Branch, Kochava. So these are all the app attribution partners which are officially associated with Google, that can also give you the data. Now, you might ask, what is the difference between GA4 SDK and the third party app attribution partners? The difference is that with Google Analytics for Firebase, you will not be able to track the performance of all ad networks. For example, you will not be able to track the conversions for Snapchat, TikTok, and Meta, which is for third party app attribution partner, which you can do, but it comes with an associated cost. However, we always recommend to use both Google Analytics for Firebase and a third party app attribution partner, is to identify the right kind of optimization opportunity. So with GA4 SDK, you will be able to identify certain optimization opportunities which you might miss otherwise if you are not implementing Firebase tracking. Now, let me see if there are any questions. No. So, with that, we have come to the end of the first section, and I will hand it over to Vinay. And Vinay will take you through the entire optimization creatives best practices, how to, what are the best practices in order to optimize your creatives, the right kind of creatives, etc. So, yes, over to you, Vinay. And again, please, if there are any questions, do add it in the comment section and we will get back.
Thank you, Ratrika, for setting up the context, and I'm sure that audience by now know what are the essential fundamentals required to have the great app campaign. So, having said that, let's quickly talk about how do we optimize our creatives, right? Now, when we're talking about optimizing creatives, and as we recently studied that creatives does play a very crucial part when we're talking about uh, in the apps campaign, and let's quickly understand why creators matter in the first place. As we have noted that creators play a crucial role in the success of your app campaigns, but why and how, right? In general, uh, good creatives are optimized for your KPI, right? So be that user value, driving installs, or it could be anything else, right? They can help you stand out from a sea of competitors and that are serving creative itself with the enhanced by both advertiser uploaded assets and from the Google Ads and system generated assets pulled in from the, be it from your Play Store or App Store. Our models will draw upon these assets combination to generate numerous versions of the creatives that speak to various user cohorts, and ultimately they help to maximize serving reach, which is the entirely goal, right? So the more diversified your creative assets mix is, the more ad slots that you may be eligible for. So we'll be talking about in depth about how these asset creatives are really important towards your business, and uploading multiple creatives, how it is helping you to achieve better results. Now, assets. Think of these assets as a thing, building blocks for your creative. So as I mentioned before, each assets will act as a building block for many creatives to be assembled. Both those uploaded to the Google Ads, both in terms of which are uploaded to your Google Ads and others pulled from the directly from the app listing page. These are the combined together. These are combined together to generate creatives at the ad group level. So now, in terms of that, let's quickly talk about now. When let's understand where they serve. So, additionally, when we are talking about optimizing creatives and ensuring that you are adding as many as creatives as possible, so these are the places across the numerous networks that you are eligible to showcase your ads on when you are selecting Google Ads as a platform to showcase your ads. Now, first thing you get to showcase your ads on Google Discover on Google Play, right? While the users are trying to install the app, and these are the specific ads where you can show. And at the same time, when they are searching on Google.com, and at the same time, let's say when the users are engaging in apps, you are eligible to showcase your ads there. Surfacing on the web, while their users are basically surfing on the web, you can also showcase your ads there. And at the same time, if while the users are watching something on YouTube, which is while they are consuming, streaming something, consuming a lot of content, you also get to show your ads on YouTube as well. So it is crucial that you add all the ad content. That is where you're able to also unlocking the multiple ad placements that you get, inventory that you get with apps campaigns here. And what does the optimal asset portfolio look like? Now, this is something which we recommend. Let's quickly understand what are the recommendations and what are the asset portfolio that you have in your app campaigns. Now, first, as you can see, you have your text, video, HTML, and image ads. Now, when we're talking about text here, we there is a again a cap of the recommendation cap is 10, which includes your 5 headlines and 5 descriptions. And when we are talking about videos, the cap is 20, where you're able to unlock, where you're able to upload all the different types of videos which are requested in the different formats, so that we'll be talking in depth about the video specific creatives best practices as well, and each of the formats which is listed here for that matter. And again, the recommended cap here is 20, again to ensure the maximum limit is 20, and the recommended is also 20, because you're able to unlock the maximum placements which is available uh, out there in the market. And in terms of HTML5 ads, these are specifically when you want to showcase that you do not want to compromise on the quality of the image that you're showcasing, and at the same time you have and capability to produce HTML5 ads, then that's a very best practice to have. Now let's quickly talk about the pro tips in terms of your text ads. Right now, when we are talking about text stats, to be specifically, here we have seen in the past that the text stats have shown optimal results in terms of, and the text stats have received the highest CVR compared to all other asset types, and they have the broadest reach across the app campaign compatible properties that we have. And while Google Ads won't translate your ads to a certain elements, like your app title will be the localized based and the users detected locally. For example, if there is US, right, the localization is enabled based on the app metadata pulled in from the Play Store or the App Store for that matter. Now let's quickly talk about the text ideas that you can uh, craft in, right? So when when you're talking about crafting compelling ad copy for app campaigns, the key here is the modular text assets. Instead of writing full ad sentences, we create a collection of phrases that Google's AI can then mix and match. Right? Think of it like a building blocks, as I've mentioned before, for your ads. Now, how do we approach writing these phrases? There are several ways that you can opt in. You can start by briefly introducing your app, what its core purpose, grab attention with a snappy intruding line. Just avoid over the top claims, right? Then highlight the benefits. What are the benefits that your app is, that the users get when they're using your app? And at the same time, it is very important to also, what problem does your app solve? It is also important to make sure that you are talking about what is the problem that your app is helping the users to solve, and at the same time what makes it unique from the competitors that you have. And finally, include clear calls to action. So whenever you're writing, make sure that you have clear call to actions which play a great role in terms of text stats. So these should align with your campaign goals again. So if your campaign goals is talking about, let's say, sales, it should talk about sales. If it is talking about downloading, it should also talk about downloading, right? So if you're focused on installs, use phrases like download now or play now. For driving purchases, you can use something like, for example, deals and discounts, get $5 off, or save now. So remember, each phrase should stand out on its own, grammatically correct, and they should be grammatically correct and ready to be combined with others. So this flexibility allows Google system to test numerous and add variations and optimize for the best performance. So your text ads can appear across Google Play, Search, Display Network, YouTube, and Gmail. So now let's quickly talk about the image assets and what are the pro tips that we have in terms of the image assets there. Now, when we're talking about image assets, we're simplifying and unifying app. So in terms of when we're talking about, there are same aspect ratios which are required. You don't really have to create different types of dimensions in terms of be it for your app campaigns for install, app campaigns for engagement, or app campaigns for pre-registrations. But however, based on these three different registrations, you are creative the way what message that the image is showcasing to the user or conveying to the user. That is something you will have to pay close attention on, so that if your goal is towards installs, the image is also talking about installing your app. And if it is towards engagement, then your image is also talking about probably buying a particular image or buying a particular product or service from your app. Or in terms of pre-registration, it is also talking about that your app is going to be released soon. And so as we mentioned earlier, pre-registration again is part of Android only, where if you're going ahead and your app is not launched yet, you can use that there. Now let's quickly talk about how do we stand out with the high quality images, right? The first part is to keep it simple, right? Advertisements again are a reflection of your brand. Your image assets should be appealing and not detract from the brand credibility, right? We recommend that you use single simple designs with accurate information and avoid using skewed, oddly shaped, unclear, or excessively filtered images. So these images could be taken from directly from your app to draw the user in terms of your inactions, shots, or product images. Images should have, and when we're talking about that, images should have a high pixel density. This isn't only a visible signal of quality, but a higher pixel density ensures that your image is properly rendered when resized or displayed on a higher resolution screens. So it is very important that if your image quality is impacted, then if it is being displayed on a higher resolution screen, then it might not look that great. So make sure that is something which we're taking care of as a best practice. And finally, advertisers should avoid superimposing text, logos, call to actions on the images. So think of it as a user, your own experience, right? If you're looking at a particular image and you're seeing that there are a lot of text on this images, logos, you're not really able to see the product, then that might not be a great it might not be a great experience for a user as well. So make sure that we are avoiding such things. And uh, it and in terms of if text or logos superimposed, they should be kept in minimal such a way that they don't take attention away from the image. So less than 20% of the image surface area is what we would recommend in that case, if you really have to do that. So images again can appear on YouTube as well as your subproperties of the Google Display Network, such as AdMob and mobile web. Now, let's quickly talk about the HTML5 assets. Now, this is where it gets very interesting when we are talking about HTML5 assets, where we are able to, specifically for app campaigns, for install, these assets capture attention of apps users in a unique way by being attractive and entertaining. But it's important that to make a note that we are strongly recommending uploading the maximum number of assets, text assets, and as well as image assets and video assets before building for the HTML5 ads that you have. Now, going ahead and discussing HTML5 ads further, let's talk about creating an active interactive ad, right? So if your team does have the capacity for developing an HTML5 assets, we recommend including captions. So since HTML5 assets types do not include videos, audios, viewer may not expect ads to be interactive. So provide quick instructional captions before the play begins, right? So creating something that functions as introduction or trailer to have viewers performing the desired interactive actions within 3 to 4 seconds, and make sure that keeping these ads relatively short, but at the same time 90 seconds or so, and prioritizing a portrait experience, and ensure that we are considering multiple compatibilities across operating systems. And in terms of, for those who do not have an internal team with the technology knowledge to develop HTML5 creatives, Google has the Google Web Designer, which will help you create your HTML5 ads. So and for those who could not uh, talk about HTML5 ads, you can playable, these are playable ads, or for app campaigns, and that you can find more information in the Google support if you go there as well. So make sure that again you are also looking at the requirements which are available as well there. Now let's quickly talk about the video assets, and since we are done with text, image, and HTML5, and now let's dive into the video assets part. Right now, video assets are very interesting, and in terms of, they are very important when we're talking about any assets. And in terms of, if you're talking about engagement, then video assets can be a significant performance driver, right? Based on the recent study that we have conducted, advertisers that add video to their app campaigns can expect to see a median 20% increase in the installs without a significant increase in the cost per install, right? So you're also ensuring that you're getting more expected increase in the installs, and at the same time and the when we're seeing it in the in the perception of a cost, you're still paying the same cost that you're used to, that you were paying earlier. Now, with video assets, advertisers should focus on grabbing user interest within the first 2 to 3 seconds, because as we know, whenever, if you even if you as a user are watching a particular video, uh, the the attention gap is very low, right? The user, if you're trying to engage, the first 2 to 3 seconds will tell you if you really have to watch this content. Right now, we make sure that we are able to grab the user's attention in the first 2 to 3 seconds of the video. And in our research, successful app videos, we also find that on an average they contain 2+ cut changes within the first 5 seconds, which helps deliver a dynamic sense of app experience again. They should experiment now in terms of you can experiment with creating videos around different themes, styles, subjects, and varying different lengths. But even with the experimentation of the videos, please ensure that you're able to get the app experience as quickly as possible using the tightly framed shots to help viewers focus on the features that they can use in your in-app and the benefits that they would get. And in terms of advertisers, you should basically should be focused on introducing brand early and wherever possible throughout the ad. So it is very important to talk about your ad, your brand, and at the same time make sure that you're having those engaging moments, and you're also able to express the importance and at the same time the benefits and the features that the users will see when they have installed your app. Now let's quickly talk about the video asset coverage. So as you can see here on your screen, video assets can be significant performance driver, as I've mentioned. Based on the recent study, advertisers that added a video to their app in terms of their app campaigns can expect to see a median of 20% increase, as I've mentioned, and you get to see three different aspect ratios, as you can see here, right? Which is your 16 is to 9, which is your landscape video that you want to add. Then you have 2 is to 3, and you have 1 is to 1, right? These are the three different types of dimensions of video where you can extend your reach and or in terms of your portrait, square, and landscape videos. Now, make sure that you're varying the length. As I've mentioned before, you can vary the length of the video. You can start off with, you can turn a 60 seconds. If you, let's say you have a 10 to 60 seconds video, what you can do is you can turn that 60-second video from to a 10-second video, 15-second video, and a 30-second video. So what happens is you unlock multiple different placement options, and at the same time how the message is being conveyed to the user is also something which you are able to focus on, right? So some users might be interested in watching a 10-second ad, then there would be a person who might go ahead and engage with your video for 30 seconds or 60 seconds. So have different aspects of the length of the video so that we are able to cover across all these different types of users there. Now, let's quickly talk about managing all of your assets group via ad group. Now, in terms of when we're talking about using ad groups to theme your assets, have full coverage in terms of asset types in the each ad group. As I mentioned, make sure you have all the different types of assets and the recommended max cap that we have showcased in the earlier slides, and have at least one to two evergreen ad groups. I'm sorry, have at least one to two evergreen ad groups. When I say evergreen ad groups, what I mean is one or two ad groups which are performing really good for you. Now, these are your evergreen ad groups. So, if you want to introduce any new assets, let's not touch these ad groups. Instead, if you want to experiment, you can use A&B experiment, or what you can do is you can create a new campaign to test out these creators or a new ad group. But if you really want to ensure that there is a fair test happening, what you can do is you can create a new campaign and use the different 50-50 budget so that you're able to test the right with the fair amount of budget as well. And theme your ad groups with a uh, consistent message, right? If based on the message that you want to showcase to the user, make sure that you're theming your ad group there. And at the times of you can consolidate the campaigns to leverage the historical learnings. So if you have multiple campaigns which has got conversions, you can also consolidate that here as well to ensure that we are able to use that campaign for better leverage, and the campaign is using the historical data to for the machine learning, and AI is able to optimize your campaigns there. Now, let's quickly talk about evaluating your creative performance. How we can, uh, with the data that you've got, how we can evaluate your creative performance, how we can read this data, and how based on that you can make your decisions that if the creative is working really fine. Now, the first thing is to gauge your creative here is on the ad strength, right? So ad strength is a very key indicator based on the images. So it the ad strength basically can you can find the ad strength whenever you're creating your ad, right? You're specifically uh, the asset group here. You can see whenever you're uploading creatives, your ad strength is changing. So AdSense scores from poor, average, good, and excellent, as you can see on your screen. So always aim towards having a good or excellent ad strength, because that's when basically that will happen only when you're able to, when you're using all the different types of images, in terms of creative options that the app campaign has to offer, right? Be it your videos, text, HTML, and uh, text. That if you're using all of these options, that's when you will see your ad strength is going um, from poor to average, average to good, good to excellent. And make sure that overall rating is ranging. So this is, again, you can see that the rating ranging is from incomplete to excellent, but always make sure that you're eyeing for the excellent. Always go to your asset group, your ad group, and see which are the creators which are performing really great. And if there is a specific creative which is not doing that great, you can always have the scope of replacing that assets. Now this is where the review of your assets comes into the page, where you can categorize, you can check the performance of your assets based on the performance grouping, where you can see how it is being placed, and based on if it is best, based on the, again, the data that has been getting. So you can always work towards that, and you can review your assets here. Now let's quickly talk about segmenting based on additional insights, right? When we're talking about having different types of videos, right? So even in terms of when we're talking about uh, let's say you have a different types of videos in place, where you have a cinematic video and have an action video, right? Now in terms of where, if you want to focus, showcase your ads on uh, YouTube, let's say, and your drivers in your, you want to, there is a specific way that you want to showcase your cinematic video, this would be a best in terms of when your ads are more displayed on YouTube, and it works great in the YouTube experience. Whereas if it is an action based video, then we would that is something good for your Google display network, right? Now let's quickly talk about with that being said, these are the best practices that you can go ahead and incorporate in your campaign, and this will really help you to get the best out of your campaign in terms of your apps campaign. Make sure your creative best practices that you followed, and also the additional measurement best practices and the initial fundamentals which Aratrika initially mentioned. If you're following this, you should be able to set up a great apps campaign there. With that being said, let we are coming towards the end of the video, end of this session, and thank you so much to being an amazing audience. I'm sure this session must have helped you. I'm hoping that this session must have helped you to understand in-depth knowledge of your apps fundamentals and creative best practices. Thank you for being part of this.